you don't really know what's going to happen.
We want to make sure that everyone can be chasing that American dream.
Sometimes the only way to succeed is just to not give up. Now they know the other side. All right. Well, on today's episode, we have an incredible business owner, incredible mind, Beth fucking Silverman. Welcome to the other side.
Hey!
Yeah!
We go all out on these things.
Yeah!
Live audience in the back.
eXp Miami!
Hell yeah, that was my opening line
Yeah!
today.
Hey! Who's on Adderall?
What's good, fellas?
Oh, all kinds of good shit.
Yeah.
We have just met, and you've got to be one of my favorite people already.
Thank you.
You're fucking fantastic.
I try.
Yeah.
Sometimes I succeed.
Well, this weekend you're succeeding at a high level, and in life you seem to be succeeding at a high level. That's nice.
Feels good. It took a long time to get here.
Bullshit. I don't believe it.
Success
You just
ain't
woke up
happening.
one day and boom, you just had millions just coming in. You had all the influence and swagger from day one, right?
I mean, I was born a badass,
That I believe.
but it's been a long journey to actually be a badass.
Well, before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little more of the accolades you've accomplished so far before we tear it all apart?
Before we destroy all of this pretty view of who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell people who you are, a little more accolades, and just who you are now, and then we'll get into who you were before.
All right. My name is Beth Silverman. My brand is Build Wealth with Beth. I teach everyday people how to build wealth by investing in real estate, leveraging the housing market as the vehicle. I also help realtors who want to invest and succeed in real estate by partnering with them. Prior to real estate, I've had a pretty wild life. I was a prodigy musician. I was the first female saxophonist at Peabody Conservatory. So my discipline and my good habits come from practicing music at a very early age, from the time I was 6 all the way to the time I was 26, many hours a day. That's where I developed all my good habits. I turned 26. I was diagnosed with cancer. They said, you're going to be dead in 5 years. I said, you don't fucking know who I am. And also, as I faced death, I never once was like, why me? Immediately, I was like, why not me? And so not only was I doing 11 surgeries, 2 years of treatment, I started an organization that grew to educate women in 73 countries and breast reconstruction. I traveled the world and started speaking. So when people see me on stage, they're like, yo, this girl's been doing this forever. Yeah, it started as a professional musician. Then it went to speaking about cancer. I buried 50 friends along the way, raised millions of dollars. And that was a wild 10 years of my life. And there came a point where I was like, I want to be done with music. I want to be done with cancer. What am I going to do with my life? And somebody said, you have a pretty big Facebook network. I was not on Instagram. I don't even know if Instagram was a thing yet, but I was
It's
not
for
on-
the kids still, probably.
yeah.
that time, yeah.
I mean, remember, like, so listen, I might look good, but I'm 47. So Facebook was like my jam.
But
yeah.
I might look good, but
It's very expensive to look this good every year. Yeah.
but
But Facebook for me was very organic. Like, again, it wasn't the way it was. The algorithm wasn't the same, but it was organic in the sense that I had contacts all over the US and in other parts of the globe, simply from like elementary school, then college with musicians, then having cancer. And so someone said to me, your network is your net worth. And I think that you should get your real estate license. And I was like, what? And I was like, eh. And so I went to work for a builder, developer, a $1 billion builder developer. And then I decided to go back. I left New York. I went back to Maryland, where I went to Johns Hopkins. And I was like, all right, I'm doing this. And I happened to meet a guy who happened to be an asset manager of a pretty big bank. And suddenly I was thrust into the world of REOs. And that is how I started my career.
Damn.
Wild.
Yeah, so that go attitude, like you said, you don't know who I am. Where did that come from? Like there has to be like childhood memories or something like that. Were you always like into sports or something, or where did that come from? That just grit that you have.
Childhood trauma. Literally, like, let's be real. My parents divorced when we were very young, and it was unheard of back then. And I grew up thinking that I was not worthy of my father's love if I did not achieve some measure of his measure of financial success.
Yeah.
And I just always felt not good enough to be loved by him. My parents were very hard on us. We were all overachievers. So it's a deep trauma of needing to be the best, and also a deep trauma financially, because the day my parents separated, I think I was like 8 or 9, and he said to me, don't depend on a man for money. And we were very wealthy.
shit.
I grew up very affluent. And so when he said that to me, and I'm such a little girl, I just so that coupled with being a prodigy musician and been having to practice every single day for hours, that is where I get my drive.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've heard most entrepreneurs who come on here have some kind of, the drive was from their childhood. Mm-hmm. Is what made them. And again, for people like, for me, when people say I can't do something, I want to do it like 20 times better. So a couple of memories for me that just to share on that one was, my mom was saying, if it wasn't for your sister, I wouldn't be here today. Like, that was pretty heavy for me. My dad saying, don't talk to me about money until you make more than me. So to me, they'd have no idea like that's a big issue. But for me, it was like, those are the sentences I will never forget, because I'm like, all right, well, now I'm going to make something myself. I'm going to prove you all wrong. And anytime somebody doubts me, it's that drive for me too. So
I feel like and one of the things for me is like, competition has never activated my prey drive. Like I never look at anyone else. I have blinders on in my own life. I've always been in my own lane. It's always been me against me.
Yeah.
I think what drives me to outwork people is having cancer and going through chemotherapy. My longest surgery was 17 hours. People think they're tired. That ain't shit. Fatigue, where there were some days it was just so hard to get from my bed just to the toilet. That is fatigue. And once I came back into a healthy body and I knew that I wasn't going to die, it was like, oh, you need me to work 24 straight hours? I'm going to outwork everybody. Just watch. And so I think I just have a natural ability to sleep less and achieve more in a short amount of time.
Damn. Are all your siblings like that?
Yeah.
How many siblings do you have?
So the OGs, there are 4 of us. Like the originals, there's 4 of us. The replacements are, I have a stepbrother, stepsister, half sister. The OGs, very tragically, my brother, my best friend, he passed away 8 months ago, and that has been just a shift for me mentally, for my business. And you think like, yo, I almost died. Like I don't take life for granted, but I have had so much success, and I've been on this upward trajectory for the last 5 years. Like it's been this wild success journey for me. And so when Jesse died, tragically, it just rocked my world, and it's made me completely reshift what my priorities are in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your calendars changed a bit.
A lot, because I had such blinders on. Like I was just rolling through life, like with my plan to make a specific amount of money, to have a specific amount of properties. I knew my plan. No one could steer me off my plan or make me think for a minute that my plan was not correct. Because I have been in this mindset, this grind. I said to myself in 2019 when I joined eXp, I was like, I'm going to just grind. I'm going to go into grind mode. There were months where I worked 61 days in a row, 12 to 14 hours a day. Like I would hit a wall and cry like every 11th, 12th day. Yeah. But
well, doing 61 days in a month is an amazing feat.
It's wild.
That's working a lot of days in a month. How do you do 61 days in a month exactly?
In a quarter.
Oh, okay.
It was I live my life quarter by quarter, right?
Yeah.
Like I divide all my goals quarterly.
Yeah.
Like cancer taught me not to plan too far ahead, because I never knew if I was going to live or die.
Yeah.
And so like even thinking, everything for me is always in quarters. Granted, I have my years planned out. I have a 10-year, 5-year. I reverse engineer down to the, micro habit, but everything is quarter by quarter. I have a whiteboard that's larger than this. So, 6 by 8 feet, that I move with me no matter what room. It does just not my bedroom, but it goes into my kitchen. If I decide I'm going to sit on the couch, watch TV, it turns. And I look at it all the time. So I'm critically aware of my numbers, who my, 25 acres of diamonds are, of like, who do I have to connect, the one to bring me to the many, my hot to trot clients. Like every day I'm just looking at it. And then every quarter there's like a new mantra across the top, which, drives me.
Are all your siblings and you like close enough where you guys are each other's, because growing up with that mindset, do you guys all help each other out in moments of stress or when you're down, or like who do you call, I guess, when it sounds like you can do this on your own the whole time?
I've been a lone wolf like my whole life, which is wild because you don't get where you are without love and support and guidance. And so even though I believe that it's me and my own 2 feet, I do have a support system. It's why I became a very successful solo agent. I have a support staff. You can't be a big time solo without having a support staff, whether it's transaction coordinators, agents. You need people under you, even if you're solo.
Yeah.
But I've never wanted to be a team lead. Like I have 43 agents in my rev share group. That's great. Babysitting enough. Leaders are visionaries. I am a very strong manager and a driver, and I'm very hard to work for.
Yeah.
Because my level of what I expect is the bar is so high, and my expectations will not be lowered. You will rise, or we will not work together.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's a standard. An expectation is different than a standard. That's the standard. This is what happens. Expectations are like this lofty thing. Like people look at expectations like, oh, this is like something to achieve, versus a standard is like everybody fucking does this.
Correct.
This is the standard of our company. This is not our expectations where we hope you might achieve them someday. This is bare minimum. This is starting point. This is ground zero. That's a standard. That's different.
I think that it's interesting how it changes the older I get and the more financially sound I've become. Right? Like I think when you're in that growth period, like everybody has to have a number. And I'm not talking about your freedom number, your tap out retirement number. Fuck that. You have to have a number of where you understand like, these are the bills. This is what it costs to run the business. This is how I have to grow my wealth. So I need to be able to save this so I can buy this, leverage this, make sure I'm writing off the right amount with the IRS, make sure I'm not, like I have the biggest fear of like being audited.
Okay.
And but my accountant's like, you'd be my favorite client to get audited. He's like, you're so
dialed in.
Yeah.
Because
Guarantees you are.
I always want to show more because of my buying power in real estate.
You get it.
So
No, we say paying taxes is an investment in your borrowing power.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
Let's
And if you
get
don't
that
need to
quote.
borrow, don't invest.
Correct. I love that.
But that's what it is. Paying taxes is an investment in your borrowing power. That's it. That's the only reason to pay taxes.
Correct.
Ever.
My friend always said, if the world is the casino, the IRS is the house, and the house always wins. You don't fuck with the IRS.
I mean, that's true to some extent. You just got to know how to play the game.
Correct.
They give you the rules.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if they
The
give you the
rules
rules
are
and you play by the rules,
The rules are designed to keep the wealthy people wealthy.
Yeah.
And
listen,
everyone,
who's making them?
the wealthy people.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, listen, I'm a very simple political person. You just follow a lot of the money and you can figure out where things come from. You can figure out what the undercurrent of certain things are when you're like, oh, that person put in 100 mil? Interesting.
Yep.
You know where things are going. And so it's not complicated. And the good thing about the IRS is that it's public knowledge. They can tell you, they're giving you the playbook. They're giving you the rules. And you don't have to know the whole goddamn thing. Not a single person, to my knowledge, has ever read the whole thing because it changes so much constantly, but you have to be really good in certain areas and you can get dialed in on exactly what you do and the things that impact you and your business. You can absolutely do that.
No, I would just hire.
It's awesome.
Because
that's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't want to do that.
But I'm saying that's possible, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's a real thing. Like, you can get really good at certain things, but you can't really get really good at everything. It's just impossible.
Oh, and I
Especially with
wouldn't
the tax
wanna be.
code. It's fucking crazy.
So
Yeah.
that's like Greek to me. Even math, it's so wild because I do so much math in investing and just in money and calculating and running numbers, but I can't think about taxes, write-offs.
That's
Like,
why we need each other. I don't know how to do the other. I mean, I can figure out a pro forma. I can figure out if things get cash flow, but there's a difference between you going, listen, I got a feeling about this when I've seen this before. I think I know that. That's a different level of expertise than me putting together a spreadsheet.
Correct.
That's different.
Yeah.
Can we go back to something you said?
Yeah.
I was something that really fascinated me earlier was Mike asked you this, he said, your schedule has probably changed a lot. And you said, yeah, my priorities have shifted. What's different about your calendar now than it was before your brother passed?
my front-facing client time. So because I am such a specialist in the investment space, I have to have a lot of front-facing client time. I don't buy leads. I don't cold call. I don't door knock. Like, everybody comes to me word of mouth, and they have to meet a specific financial criteria just to get on my Zoom. Like, there's a lot that goes into if you're going to get the chance to partner with me. I put so much into my clients. I act almost like a JV partner without touching their equity. And so they have to pay for it in some other way.
Yeah.
So the physical, mental, emotional toll of, like, it's a lot making other people money. I've literally made people millions and millions of dollars. And like I don't care about 5-star reviews. If you read some of the I don't even know, testimonials, which I didn't want to do. Like, my brand people were like, you got to ask your clients to do this.
Yeah.
My clients wrote these pages.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh my God. And like, it shows like their portfolios and like
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And like, I read those and I was just like, oh yeah, like I did this. And so there's a lot. These people are trusting me to invest hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And if I do it right and they make money, they come back to me. And I make money because I pivot them with the economy. And so the stress, the challenges, it's on me. When Jesse died, first of all, it was tragic and sudden. And so it was so shocking. And I just came to a standstill. Like, I had 5 active clients. We were actively putting in offers, and other agents can't replicate, unfortunately. Some of them can, my agents, but they're not me. My clients are literally paying for me. They're on retainers. So it's not like an agent can open doors. I'm not working with traditional people. Mm-hmm. So my clients will wait. Like, they're like, yo, take care of you, whatever you need.
Yeah, we want you at your best.
Yeah. And so for me, it was like I took probably like a month or 2 off. And even when I came back, like I still hit great numbers in Q2. He died in February. I hit great numbers in Q2, but like I don't know how, because I was going through the motions. And there came a point where I was just like, I can't work this hard. Like I don't know that I was exhausted. And then I happened to be in a cigar bar. I'm a very big cigar smoker. And in walked a man, and I fell madly in love. And that has shifted my life in a way and a trajectory that I never knew possible. And I realized quickly that maybe I didn't need to earn quite as much as I had myself on a plan for.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, let's talk about how many hours there are in a day, in a month, in your life. And I realized, like, at the end of it all, am I going to be on my deathbed and say, I wish I helped a few more people make a couple more million? Or am I going to say, I wish I took time to grieve, to figure out what truly makes me happy, and to now put someone else's happiness ahead of my own?
Yeah. Yeah, because your drive was so strong at the beginning to prove something, like, hey, I'm going to make something of myself. And then you, like you said, your blinders were on. Sounds like you lost sight of that a little bit enjoying the smell of the roses to some extent, right? Because you were so driven to get to where you're at. And then that big life shift is like, holy shit, like, yeah, I need to take a break.
It's wild. Like, my accountant, so he's been with me since I was broke. I met this dude like 13 years ago, and I was in Baltimore, and I was crying because I walked into, like, what are those loser tax places? Like they're like
H&R Block?
Something like that.
I mean, they're not losers, just kidding.
But like,
loser
and so
tax.
I was I was broke, and so when you're broke, like, you get a check back from the government, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to end up like owing, and but I just knew that this person did not understand real estate, and I was still such a young agent. But one of my friends was like, you got to go see this dude. And so I had so much medical debt and so many bills, and it was just wild. But this guy watched me. And so the last few years, he would call me and he'd be like, B, you realize that every single year you've raised your take home pay every year, 5 years in a row, by $100,000 each year. He's like, that's not normal. He's like, most people just don't do that. And I was like, no. Like, no. How would I know it's not normal? In my mind, it was just not enough. Like, I was just not going.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when he was like, buy the houses, buy the car. He's like, buy shit. He's like, you have to start buying stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think the car was probably one of the first, and the business pays for the car, but still, like, it was one of the first expensive things that I really allowed myself, because that's debt. That's not.
You didn't want to go backwards. Like you felt that pain of debt, and you don't want to have debt.
Listen, the pain of debt, and I had over $200,000 of debt from having cancer. That shit will kill you worse than cancer almost killed me. The fear, what are you going to do? If anyone out there has ever felt that is a feeling in your belly where you will either sink and die, or you will use it as fire and just rise like a fucking phoenix.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you know that, in the sense, like, to kind of slow down a little bit and take a breath and realize, okay, I'm going to hit these goals no matter what. Mm-hmm. But now you know that you need to take these moments to relax. How do you recharge yourself, or how do you break away from the cell phone, the emails, everything in your head? What do you do?
I just stop. Like it's a hard no.
It's like, listen, dummy, just stop doing it.
Yo, it's a hard no.
Wow.
So I have come. So this is the thing. Like whenever I talk to younger agents, I don't want them to look at me when I say I don't work weekends. If you call me, it used to be if you called me after 8 p.m. it was bad. Now if you call me after like 6 p.m. I ain't talking to you.
Yeah.
But which is wild because my clients are on the West Coast too. But I really feel strongly that I used to guilt trip myself for sitting down and watching TV or like taking a lunch. And now I realize, like, if it's a little slow one day, don't freak the fuck out. Go to the cigar bar, go have a drink at 2 p.m. with your boys, with your friends. Chances are you're going to meet another entrepreneur, you're going to meet a client, or you're going to have a business conversation that's going to motivate you. And so it's okay to step away. Like I used to just guilt trip myself when I was young. If I used to go out with my friends, if I used to drink, I would guilt trip myself the whole next day of like, how could I do this to my business? Like, then so I realized
That's
like
brutal.
It is, but also like I was also partying. You got to think about the people you're surrounding yourself with when you're young.
Yeah.
Like the reason I left Baltimore, like I had a great career, but it plateaued because of my friends were just partying, doing drugs. Like, yeah, they owned bars and it was cool, but they weren't making money. They weren't in that growth entrepreneurial mindset. Like I didn't have anyone inspiring me to be bigger, to think bigger. And so I just looked around and I was like, yeah, I gotta leave. So like after having a 7-year business, I just packed up my shit and decided I'm gonna build it all over again in St. Pete. I knew one person in one neighborhood, but I knew the market was fire and I knew it was the most beautiful place I'd ever been to in my life.
Yeah.
And I just took a chance on myself.
Wow.
And that first year was fucking so hard. Oh my God. That was 7 years ago. It was so hard. I cried so much. I was so scared that I made the wrong, and I was like, what's the worst that happens? Like I go back to Baltimore, fuck that.
Yeah.
But what I realized is like, once you start calculating your dollar per hour and you know your worth, then I started realizing, well, if I'm hungover because I went out, it's not just about what I spent when I went out. It's about what am I missing the next day, dollar per hour.
There you go.
Then I calculated what opportunities did I miss because I wasn't in my right mindset.
Yep.
And so that really triggered me to be like, you know what? I need to be way more in control of myself, of my actions. That was it. And then 2019, I joined forces with GoGo at eXp. And she challenged me on Instagram. I hated Instagram. I had just joined Instagram like 2017. Facebook was a lot of my business.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck Instagram. It's so contrived. It's bullshit. And she's like, what if I show you that it's controlled and the message you deliver, you can control? And so she kind of gave me this challenge. I took her up on it, 365 days of straight up posting, doing every single thing she said. And I just amassed this really big following pretty quickly. Like I went from like 0 followers to like 1,000, 5,000. Yeah. Which, and by the way, like my Insta has been like nothing for the last year. I was pretty big on TikTok and I deleted it October 7th over political reasons. But if somebody went a deep scroll on my Insta, when I was building it, I had an agency come in. We were filming batch content. I was putting out reels 24/7 of great content.
Yeah.
And so like I was building. You know when you go to the gym, you get a good body and then you like can maintain.
I know. Look at this.
But then you like maintain, right? And so for me, I have a following, I have the audience, but I also know like what the conversion rate is. Yeah. For me right now, LinkedIn is where it's at for my business. Facebook remains one of the strongest organic conversions for me, just because I talk about, like, my brand is my life.
Yeah.
Real estate investing is my life.
Yeah. So yeah, you pivot and go where the people are.
The people have the money.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that saying too, because we always have that quote that we say, you hang out with 4 broke people, you'll be the 5th. You hang out with 4 rich people, you'll be the 5th. And one thing that I felt like happened to me was it was last year. I felt like I got into like a plateau of, where business is doing well, we have employees, like, things are just going well. And I was hanging out with some of the people that, have businesses and stuff, but they're kind of stuck in just being okay. And I caught myself on that. And like our friend Christian, he said, like, he moved to Miami because he wanted to be around people where the money was, where he felt like a small fish again. So you moving to Baltimore, or from Baltimore, right? Mm-hmm. That is getting yourself out of the fish tank and to a bigger one. And those struggles, again, I think just reignited the fire that you had when you were, younger. And again, you get away from all that, and that's pretty badass.
And just next level. And then you level up and you hire a coach.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot be at any point in your life, whether you're an athlete, a musician, an entrepreneur in business, everybody needs a coach. And there's a big difference between a coach and a mentor. And also, you got to find the right one.
What's the difference?
So, because I mentor people. So mentoring is more hand-holding, especially in real estate. Like, I can be a mentor, where mentoring in real estate investing is like almost like an apprenticeship.
Okay.
But a coach, you're hiring a coach for a specific skill set. So like people, you can't just look at some guru that you see without figuring out if they're the right coach for you. Like, first you gotta dial down to, like, what does my business need? Because I hired the wrong coach first.
Okay.
Because everybody told me I needed to. This guy was like Wim Hof breathing on his way to the gym at 3:00 in the morning. He was like this heavy hitting, loud, aggressive, like, my way to growth is the only way to grow kind of guy. And it didn't work out. And then I hired a coach who was personal and just witty and charming, and he reminded me of my saxophone teacher, who was my coach for 9 years, and everything he did inspired me to be the best version of myself. And that year that I coached with him, I doubled my business.
Wow.
So like, and then you can outgrow a coach. That's okay, because you need different coaching. Yeah, like, think about an athlete. They have different coaches for their body. You have a mental coach. Like, yeah. Some people call it a therapist, but there are coaches out there that are now just for the whole mental part of being in business.
Yeah, I can't remember who. We had somebody else on the podcast who said something similar, where they said you have to have they have a coach.
Oh yeah, Danny. He used the word mentor, but his point was you have to have a mentor in multiple things. He's like, you can't have just one mentor. You need a mentor for your finances. You need a mentor for your physical health. You need a mentor for like these different areas. He's like, find somebody. Yeah. He's like, find somebody who excels in one thing. You don't have to have one person be all things. He's like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
He's like, if you really want to be excellent, you're going to have to find people who are excellent at certain parts. He's like, that person might have an amazing marriage, but they're overweight. He's like, so you might want to talk to them about your relationship and have somebody you can be really honest with about how things are going with your spouse, like real man talk. And then you might have to have somebody who can kick your ass in the gym. It's not going to be the same person.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that, where people put so much stock in one person or one program or one thing that you can miss out on a lot of really, really excellent help and great connections with people.
And then you hire a coach. And if you hire a coach and you spend a lot of money and you don't put the work in, like, you don't take the fucking point. Like, you don't show up, you're not accountable.
But that's like putting all the ingredients for a cake in a bowl and never putting it in the oven.
Yeah, or like a realtor from a different brokerage is saying it's a brokerage fault.
Oh my God, how many times have we seen that, like, over and over and over again? Oh, they don't have the things I need to succeed. I'm like, listen, if you're gonna succeed, you can succeed in a fucking desert.
Yep.
You can be dropped with no resources, no nothing, and if you really want to make it out of that desert, you'll find a fucking way.
I'll find that mirage, buddy.
You will fucking figure it out.
I will sell you the goddamn dream.
100%, dude. You'll sell sand to a camel.
100%.
Ice to an Eskimo is what I said.
Yeah,
I said a jelly donut to a woman wearing white satin gloves.
That's very long.
But when you think about it, like, when's the last time you had a jelly donut? Like, when you're a kid, like, they're delicious, but they're so messy.
I literally had one like a week ago. Okay, listen, we have this place in our town called Voodoo Donuts. Okay?
Oh, I've heard.
Yeah. Voodoo Donuts is insane. So I went there, probably sober. We went there, and this thing was like 3 inches by 8 inches, and it was a giant Pop-Tart. And I was like, okay, well, this has to happen. And it was intensely sugary, but I still ate it.
Did you get messy though?
Not too bad.
So imagine, and you guys obviously can't really imagine white satin gloves, but they make you feel very.
Okay, why do you
demure.
you always
Wait a
steer
minute.
us-
I don't know what white or satin is. Never.
But they make you feel very demure as a woman because they.
Oh yeah, let's use that word.
They really do, and because they are very classy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're just beautiful gloves. You often think of a princess or a queen, and so you just wouldn't put the two together. And I guarantee I can get that woman the most expensive white gloves to eat that
Yeah,
jelly donut.
that's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, so I'm still kind of confused though because
And I'll sell her extra wet wipes, makeup touch-up, mirror.
and get a commission from it.
You get three. You get 3 referrals.
Yes. So the one of my therapists told me one thing. I want to kind of circle back because I feel like I haven't got the answer I want yet.
Okay.
So it is, like you said, when you have a moment, you will go to get a drink with some friends, or you'll go to the cigar bar. You'll kind of relax that way. But in your mind, you're still knowing there's business to be had. Like, if I go there, I might run into somebody. Or if I go to the cigar bar, I met this person. You're
still on.
You're still on. So I want to know, because like for me, like I will go hiking. I get where I have no service, which is probably not the best thing all the time after I thought about it. But I have no service. I go shut my brain off completely. I put music in, and I just sit by a waterfall, and I just stare for hours.
Yeah, I used to be a solo hiker because I'm in Mount Hood. I used to be a cold weather hiker. I used to hike
Mount
solo
Hood,
30
that's
miles a
our-
week.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So like, I used to
Yeah.
do all that cool shit. And I agree because I would never take my phone. I used to think the same way. I'm like, fuck, I might regret this one day.
Yeah.
But so I do have a very strict nighttime routine.
Here we go.
So yeah. So number one, I took this incredible sleep study course in college, and it changed my life about how you prepare for sleep. And it's called the Power Hour, which is the hour before you go to bed.
Okay.
So first and foremost, I have a nightly routine that I follow pretty religiously. It involves almost the same time every night. But the first thing that happens is there's never any electronics in my bedroom ever. So there's no television. My phone doesn't come in there. And so my bedroom itself has a sage green wall. It's all earth tones. People walk in my house, rarely because I don't really like people, but they come over and they're like, it smells good in here. And it's not a diffuser or anything. It's just this unbelievably clean air. It's just this very peaceful. The temperature is right. It drops to
67.
Well, so if northern states, like 68 is that optimal temperature. In Florida, it's a little different. Like if I have it at 70, that's freezing. That would be like you having it at 66, 67 up north.
Okay.
That'd be my
So,
preference.
yeah. So you make it really cold. So about an hour before I go to bed, I turn my bed down. It's just like you were staying in a very fancy hotel. The whole bed gets turned down. So the bedroom is set up. The lights go very low. The Google Nest starts playing this very specific type of music. Just that they're like relaxing wave type music. And so the room is getting set. Maybe smells a little lavender spray. And I try not to eat like an hour before bed because it will keep you awake. What people just don't realize that. And so I have to stop looking at electronics. So the computer goes off, the office lights go off. Like once I close the computer, that's it. Like it's just a sign in my brain. Usually I'll do like a little 30-minute of like fucking mindless TV, like crime show, or like I'll do a couple squat jumps like all around I make a circuit out of my living room.
Just a couple.
Yeah, but like as soon as I turn the TV off and start turning the lights off, I can hear the music like summoning me into bed. So always very clean face. I always sleep. You guys probably saw on my Instagram the other day in one of those massive silk bonnets.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So bed is always prepared. The routine from my teeth to everything. So my brain knows all these signals because I've been doing this for so many years. And then you have a legal pad by your bed. And this takes time and practice to do, but right before bed, you can write down a question or something that you're trying to figure out or a problem that you want to work through. And you're going to put that in your mind, but you're not going to allow your mind to like race when you lie in bed. It usually only takes me about 4 minutes to fall asleep. So from the time I get in the bed, I tell the Google Nest, set the sleep timer for 60 minutes. If you find yourself having trouble falling asleep, what you want to do is just pick a letter of the alphabet.
I heard about
and you
this
want to
one.
think of as many words that start with that letter. So so if you an M and you're like monkey, mango, mandarin, so
Mike.
it's forcing your brain, because you're not formulating full thoughts,
Yeah.
it will help you fall asleep. Can counting doesn't help because it's too regimented. It keeps the same parts of the brain active. So I wake up, I have unbelievable REM cycles. I typically wake up, I typically remember most of my dreams. So if I start writing them down quickly, I'll remember at least the last REM cycle.
Yeah.
And then I wake up and I can usually focus on that problem and I have clarity. And I wake up feeling just refreshed and I don't have to use an alarm to get up. I just can tell my body like anytime. And I wake up like 1 to 2 minutes prior to whatever time it is. And so if I do need an alarm, it's a vibration. There's no light. And so you got to have a great mattress, great bed. Like there's so many things to my sleep routine. And it's just my peace. So at the end of the day, like you will wake up and all the problems will still be there tomorrow. You need to get a good night's rest. Your body fixes itself while it sleeps. And if you are lacking in sleep, your memory is going to be affected. So sleep to me is just, it's very private. Like this is why I rarely have people in my house, by the way. My house is so peaceful.
Yeah. You don't want any energy that's going to throw that off.
And like my whole house is like, it's very monotone. It's so beautiful. And most people don't ever see it. I have maybe like 1 or 2 people come over. That's because it's my peace. It's just such a protected, sacred space. So that, because when I'm out, I'm on.
Fortress of solitude, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really how it is. So that's how I disconnect. I disconnect when I'm by myself. I love being with myself.
Where I wanted to hear it. That was the answer I wanted. Because my therapist told me that, because Nathan and I are very similar. We just go all the time, right? So I break away for my hikes and stuff. But she gave me a quote, and I loved it a lot. She says, boredom, for people like us, boredom is a luxury. Yeah. Because we never get it. So when you have it, it's like, just take it for a second, just relax. It's okay. And it's not really boredom, but that was her quote, was boredom is a luxury because we never get it anymore. So sometimes like if you get bored, it's like, that never happens. So I'm going to just enjoy this moment for a quick second.
I don't know that I've ever felt bored.
It's been a long
I'm literally
time.
in a meeting talking
It's been a
to
really
somebody
long
who
time.
sucks.
Yeah, that I've experienced. I've been like, this is again the thing with the networking events. I'll get bored out of my fucking mind at a networking event because it drives me nuts.
There was a dude who tried to talk to me at the Florida party.
Last night?
Yesterday afternoon.
The
evening.
afternoon.
Oh, yeah,
And listen, I loved what he was doing, but his services didn't match my business, right? Not even whatsoever. And so like I gave him a few minutes of the elevator pitch, but then he tried to talk to me for an additional 10 minutes. That's a lot of time.
That's so much. That's
and
boring.
I was just like, and so I needed to like end the conversation. I was looking for anyone to like pull me away. And finally I was just like, thank you so much. Like I have to keep this moving.
Yeah, I like that.
But yeah.
Dude, I think for me, like, I had to realize that rest was doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because like for me, like it's that feeling of like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything. Or like you kind of almost feel guilty or you've got something to get to. But to that same point, you can use whatever little analogy you want. But at the end of the day, it was like, this is actually accomplishing a very important thing. And so if I don't give myself rest as almost like a task, recognizing that I'm accomplished something very important, this needs to be a priority in my life, that's where it shifted for me. Where I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually accomplishing something very important by sitting here and watching this football game.
Oh, for sure. I think, a lot of entrepreneurs, you hit the mountain and you immediately just see the next highest mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
exactly.
Yeah,
like,
100%.
I have to tell you, like, I lived in that mindset my whole life, competing against myself. I really feel, whether it's just being 47, whether it's Jesse dying, I'm not sure, but I now very much understand that it is the climb. And I know it sounds so fucking stupid, but like, I really get that, like, it is the journey. It is every single day.
The beauty is in the struggle.
Actions. Yeah.
The beauty is in the struggle.
That's life. That is what life is.
Correct.
There was I saw this really great painting. There was an art teacher who asked their students to draw a picture that represented peace. So I thought that was a really interesting thing. So there's all these different things. And the one that really stood out to me was there's just this chaos, this huge waterfall, all this stuff, like massive like amounts of like energy and things moving, like not peaceful at all. And then there's this little bird just sitting there in the middle and just cozied up and just like, you see this moment like, oh my God, that's life right there. That's that moment where like you can only have peace in contrast. Like if it was always one way, you wouldn't know it was peaceful. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you have to have that contrast, or else that's what makes the piece so beautiful, is that it's in the midst of chaos. It's not that everything's just like everybody else is, showing meadows and flowers and things like that. And I was like, but that's really more accurate, because the people who are moving and shaking and doing stuff, you have to find these moments where you're like, this is great.
Where you're just
this is
still.
amazing. This is wonderful. Like you just take a moment and you just settle your spirit and you settle your mind and you find those moments where you're like, okay, we're fucking in this thing. Let's go. Like you just have this, like one of the things I really appreciate about you, we've only known each other for a little while, but I could just sense in your spirit just this resolve. Like you have just such a strong resolve. And I didn't know till last night about the cancer and your brother dying. Like you just shared that with us.
Yeah.
And I was like, but before that I was like, man, what is it about? I like people where I can tell they've been through some shit before I even talk to them. Those are the people that I connect with. Like you haven't gone through some shit, there's a very low likelihood that I'll find you interesting. And I would never know about it. But I know about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's like a intuition or a spiritual, there's a connection. There's something about people who've gone through struggle and have persevered and have that grit that you just like, fuck yeah, dude. It's like a likeness that you get attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
You have two choices. You can bury your head in the sand and die, or you can choose to fight like hell. And when I had cancer, that meant I still might die.
Yeah.
And it was about surrendering. And that is my least favorite thing to do. But you know, I can only control what I can control. Sometimes I can't control myself. Obviously, I got a mouth on me. I'm, super aggressive. But what I can control is, I keep getting knocked down and I'm just like a fucking weeble wobble. Like I'm getting right back up. I mean, the fact that like my brother died, first hurricane hit, half my clients were wiped out. Business comes to a pause. Second hurricane hits. Evacuating was crazy. My roof blows off. I finally get back. My community's in a disaster. I get water. I get Wi-Fi. And the next day I'm hit by a truck. And my very expensive car is totaled. And I'm going to the hospital. It's like, and this is all in the last 2 weeks of my life. And people are like, how the fuck are you standing? Do you want me to sit?
Like what fucking other option do I have?
Correct. What should I lay down? Is my life?
But don't you think that's one of the secrets of great entrepreneurs is they make decisions easy? Like the things that are difficult for other people to decide, you're like, what's the confusion here? I think that's a consistent thing as Mick and I meet more and more like highly successful entrepreneurs. It's like, well, they view the decisions or the options differently. They're like, you're so clear about this. Would you like me to put my fucking head in the sand and die? Or would you like me to do something about it? Like that seems so simple when you put it that way, but I don't think that's how normal people think.
No, they get stuck.
I think that's what makes people like you different.
They are paralyzed in fear or in thinking, or they can't fully commit because they're unsure of what the outcome is going to be. So they don't fully commit. And to me, you're correct. It is the entrepreneurial mindset. You're just so driven. You have to trust yourself so deeply. I love myself so much. I've been deeply in love with myself since I was a little girl because I realized like no one would love me the way I would from a very young age because it wasn't going to be my parents. I just knew this from the time I was little. Like my relationship with myself. I don't know how I did it, but like I think I've like I stole the book The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. I stole it from my mom's room when I was like 11. And I remember it just made me cry. And I felt that it was so profound and this spiritual awakening. And I was like this young girl. And I thought, okay, like this is the best relationship I'm ever going to have, the one with me. And I've just been cultivating and I've always forgiven myself and loved myself and given myself grace. I'm hard as fuck on myself because I want more, because I'm worth more. My expectation of myself is insane.
Yeah.
But I love myself very much at the end of the day. And I'm proud of myself. And I wish I could hug my younger self and just tell her, like, you're going to be okay.
That's so fucking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. Man, dude, 100%.
There's a couple things I want to go back on. A couple things because I know I don't want to take up all your time.
Dude, I know we could go to like 17 different things right now.
I know Nathan and I both made eye contact at this one moment.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna read his mind.
Yeah.
You said you had like a standard, right? You said the other thing you keep your peace is you have standards, right? Like this guy did not meet the standards at the networking thing. This isn't somebody I want to move. You just move on, right? So when you meet with people now, you're saying you have to pass a criteria until you get to me because I don't want to waste my time because I know my worth and my time is valuable and here's where I'm at. You found a way to get there and now you have structures where everyone has to come through. In order to not waste your time anymore, most real estate agents don't do this, but we've always thought that agents should be putting on a retainer for their clients. Be like, hey.
Dude, we've talked about this forever.
Yeah. Like, hey, if you're going to work with me, it's $10,000 up front. Here's what's going to cover. Here's what I'm going to do for you. And then here's, what I'm going to get from the end of the closing costs or whatever. But you said you do that.
Yeah.
Explain more of that.
Yeah, so I had to start charging retainers because, and by the way, in almost every real estate contract, no matter what state you're in, there's a line on the retainer whether to make it refundable or non-refundable. So like if they close, you can say, okay, it's actually going to, but for me,
it's part of the closing.
Right.
It's
For me, it's always been non-refundable.
Yeah.
Hey.
Because for me, it was securing the time. So it started with an investor who was looking for a unicorn, like a deal that a unicorn shits glitter, like the returns are insane. It's beyond a needle in a haystack. It's a needle in a pile of needles. Like it's insane.
Yeah.
And so I was like, if you want me to spend the time that it will take to hunt down this deal on and off market, you need to pay for the time so that we're equally committed to this. Because you and I both know, like, this is impossible. I'm not gonna set my sights on this unless there's money in it for me up front.
Yeah.
So that's how it started. Then I had a couple different difficult clients, and I was like, I know they're going to be difficult in our consultation. Sometimes I just wouldn't work with them. I would say we're not in alignment. But sometimes I was like, we'll get through that first deal and they'll see what I do. And I would have to put them on retainer just so I didn't get angry with them. Yeah. And
it preserves the relationship in some regard. That's a great point. I had not considered that. So walk me through this real quick. Walk me through how you decided to do a retainer. Like, what were the arguments in like your mind about for or against that?
I got burned badly. And this was probably like 2 years ago. It was Q3. Like the fact that I remember it was Q3 because it wasn't just one client. It was 3 clients. And like, it was insane that I got burned badly on these investor deals that I do everything. I really do act like a JV partner. Like I source, scout, I underwrite, I line you up with my one-stop shop, whether it's like the GC, the conversion crew, the property management. Like I literally give you everything to take you from purchase to profits. Like realtors go from start to sold. I go from purchase to profits. Like I'm the fucking messiah of helping you make money. Why? Because then you're going to come back to me. So like again and again. Yeah. So for me, I just realized I was doing so much work and I wasn't asking you for any equity. And I got burned. So 3 deals and they were all closing right around the same month or two. It was like 6 weeks apart. And all 3 of them had pulled out, not like at the end of the deal, like literally after all contingencies were released, whether like one of them was just a fucking prick. One of them, decided that they wanted to go to another city to do the deal. One of them was like, she got cold feet. I actually fought to get their earnest money. One of them did not deserve his earnest money back. He didn't get it. The listing side got it. But for the other 2, I fought and I got their earnest money back for them. And I was like, listen, you owe me my transaction fee, which is at the end of the thing, which my transaction fee is $1,000. So I was like, you owe me this. And 2 of them, they were both like, nah, like you can't by law, like hold us to it because we didn't close. So number 1, that also was like, now I need a retainer up front. Number 2, I also changed the language of my transaction fee. It's like eXp allows agents to set their transaction fee and keep it. So like, if I did 41 deals and I'm charging a $1,000 transaction fee, that money alone pays for my assistant.
Yeah.
So I changed the language of the transaction fee that was going to be paid, whether or not it closed. And then the retainer fee though is up front. And so it was getting burned and like I cried and it was like a bad beat in the casino. Like it took me 4 weeks to really recover from those 3 pieces of shit. One of them got blackballed in the investment community and no one, not any of my partners in all the other states, nobody would work with this guy.
Wow. Yeah. What's his name? I'm just kidding.
They don't say.
Yeah, I want to know who it is.
No, but that's the whole point
Instagram
of this podcast. Right? It's like this the other side. Everyone's like, not all deals go well, right? We've had bad clients in our past.
Yeah, like we end up with like these policies and procedures, and they all come from something.
Yeah.
Like in an ideal world, you never have to do that. So walk me through this. Did you ever think, man, I don't know if people are going to buy this, or did you just know that this was going to work?
I knew it was going to work.
Okay.
I know so my consultations are insane. Like you go through an intake form, so I see how liquid you are. Like I understand, like there's a lot of deep questions on it. You have to answer those. Typically, I'll partner you with my specific lender first for just a quick phone call, so I have a bigger idea of finances, and then the consult is Zoom. It's 1 hour. Sometimes it goes an hour and a half. If I know we're not going to click, I cut it at 30 minutes. You have to have your camera on. If you are a no call, no show,
Over.
you get one chance to reschedule.
One.
But you will wait. You will go to the back of the list, and I will not be nice. If you miss 2, you will. I don't care if you have $1 billion. You will never ever have the opportunity to work with me ever.
For sure.
In any capacity.
You know exactly how it's all gonna go.
And I don't like people who are late. So if you are more than like 6-7 minutes late, I'm out and the Zoom's off, and then you contact me, it's a problem. And so again, like while I'm forgiving in some instances, I respect people's time more than most. Your time is your life. People are like, time is money. No, the fuck it isn't. Your time is your life. It's your literal life.
Yeah.
Every minute of who you give it to. And I don't need fucking them. They need me.
So walk me through one thing, because I love how this is all absolutely. I love how this is all going.
Yeah.
So walk me through how you came to an understanding of what to say in those meetings and like what the contracts look like and like how did you arrive at that process?
Okay, so number 1, I'm smart, but number 2, cheat sheet is if you're out there and you're an entrepreneur, but especially if you're a real estate agent, you absolutely have to get the book, Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones. There's a specific one for realtors, but everyone else in other aspects of business should get their standard version. That's just a cheat sheet. I didn't start studying Phil until about a year or so ago. And that's just a beautiful way to perfect the skill set. And the back of the book is like charts of like, if you say this, here's the objection, here's the you guys have to read it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That sounds great.
And like there's certified Exactly What to Say coaches, wild. But for me, understanding the contract language is extremely important. So if you don't understand it, you better get with a broker, a mentor, a coach, someone to explain it to you, or a lawyer. So understand the contract language, understand the realm with which you can add things to a contract if you don't have a law degree. And then understanding how to communicate your value. For me, my client, even if they're a seasoned investor, they typically are not seasoned in my market. They're typically coming to me because they either want maybe their first Airbnb in my market or a pad split in my market. They're coming to me, or a flip or whatever it is, but they're coming to me because I have a team. They don't get access to my exclusive vendor network. Like some realtors give that shit out like fucking pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving. No. You don't get access to my vendor network until we are in a written commitment, exclusive buyer broker, retainers out, and I just don't hand over the list to you. Fuck that. You get it as you need it as we're going through the transaction. Everything is step by step. I've just built the systems and processes over time, right?
Yeah.
Trial and error. So at the consultation, I dropped so much knowledge and fire and I record it all, and the clients are just like, holy shit. And so then when I'm like, what questions do you have for me? They're like, none. Like you
handle all the objections before they have a chance to object.
Great, because of the fact you said you're ready to buy your first pad split with me, I recommend moving to sign my exclusive buyer broker agreement so that I can counsel and advise you on the properties I curate specifically to help you achieve that goal.
Exactly like you said yesterday.
Correct. But right, because that
was what I liked when you were up there. I when you first said that, I was like, all right.
But
now we're talking.
With the retainer, because of the fact you said you're looking for a 28% cash on cash return, and this is what your expectation is of a fair return, I recommend moving forward with my non-refundable retainer fee so that I can dedicate the time and energy and efforts needed to finding you what you need to help you achieve that goal.
Do you get any objections at that?
No, typically never. And so if a client isn't ready to sign, it's typically because they just, listen, they're not rejecting me. They just need more value and more information.
Oh, yeah, dude. We learned a long time ago, price is only the issue in the absence of value.
Correct. 100%. So boom. I'm inviting them to the next thing. Sometimes they need to go deeper with a lender or a vendor partner. Sometimes they need a webinar or an event. Especially with Pad Split, which is this co-living opportunity.
We just learned about that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
People haven't heard of it. And I've been so into it that it's hard for people to see an opportunity in the first pitch.
Yeah.
So I know that. But I'm going to keep moving them forward and keep following up. But what I will not do is give more of my time as a consultant or talk about any properties with you or talk about numbers. Like, I'm not going to give you anything specific until you sign that commitment to me.
Yeah, but you'll give them the education again to show the value of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We say the information is free, access isn't.
Correct.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. So it just grew over time, and you get burned. You realize you got to level up, or you say to yourself, I am doing this better than 99% of agents out there. I am worth 10 times more than these motherfuckers.
Right.
Who should I blame for that? Myself.
Yeah.
Who should I blame that I'm not getting my money? Me. So I better start asking for it. And ask and you shall receive. Also, asking is free.
The answer is always no unless you ask.
Correct.
And then sometimes still no.
And yeah.
I said that quote wrong, but I was like, yeah, it made sense.
When people say no to me, that just means not yet.
Yeah.
Literally.
Timing matters too, man. Like where somebody is in your world, where somebody is financially, they just might not be quite ready to transact at the volume that you're looking for, or be able to. Maybe they're not at a spot where they're like, hey, I could swing a $20,000 retainer or whatever. I don't know what the fee is, but I'm saying like maybe they're just not at that spot, and that's a great thing to know.
Right. So that's on my intake form.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
a great
if they
thing to
don't
know.
meet the financial barrier to entry of my market, I immediately refer them to one of my partner agents where their liquidity will get them what they're searching for.
Yeah.
So I'll sometimes still take the consult with them because I want to solidify who I am.
Yeah.
And that my partners can do this too.
Yeah. How did you come up with the intake form?
It was probably 2 years ago, so pretty new. I used to be Florida Moves with Beth. When I rebranded as Build Wealth with Beth, I think Veronica Figueroa had been talking about your branding and your messaging and what does it really mean, and I was like, well, this is what I've been helping people do, build wealth. And I'm like, okay. And so I started thinking about how do I make my processes shorter and more efficient, and then I was asking the same questions to everybody. And I was like, wait, why am I wasting time in an email or a call? Send them the intake form. So you can go on my website, fill out the form, and then it gets auto sent. It also CCs to lender partners of mine.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. And so,
That's awesome.
Yep. So the form is it was great that I created it. And I asked questions. Rank the following in order. What's important? Cash flow, short-term gain, long-term gain for equity, personal use as ROI. And so when I see what they want, I already know, it leads me into what the consultation is going to be.
Yeah.
I know the product for them and the exit strategy way better than they do.
Yeah, that's what we're doing right now is building systems, right? So we actually have, we want to help as many people as we can.
Fucking stop.
In the bookkeeping realm. So we've actually done we filmed our videos now. So when people come on, they're like, hey, you're not ready for us. You can just buy this package. It's $299. I think that's what we're landing
Yeah.
at, or something like $299.
It's called the starter package. It's hey, you don't want to hire us to do your bookkeeping. You're a new agent, but you want to take a stab at it. For $300, we literally have a 12-course online thing.
Correct.
And then set it up correctly. And then once you are ready for us, we're taking over something that's not a pile of shit.
Yeah.
Correct. We also did the other thing too. Again, learning from errors. So just full transparency, one of our errors last year was we'll bring, because you're talking to another master salesman right here. So after crushing it in the months that typically we don't crush it in, which would be November, December, we realized that 1099s are due January 31st, right? So, but these people, we have a 90-day waiting period once you get in to clean your books up. So sometimes we would miss that deadline, right? And because people just got on board in January 1, hey, we need your year of books cleaned up. Plus, we got to send those 1099s. So we learned the hard way that we need to have a better system this year. So now we've built or we're filming a video that's explaining how to do your own 1099s. So when people are coming on board here for the next couple months, I can say, hey, due to the fact that we might not get to your books all the way until maybe February next year, I want you to watch this video so you know how to file your 1099. So if you're coming on board, this is what you're going to have to do. So now we can just streamline it. Our accountant doesn't have to show them every time. We just send them a video, and they can watch it. They can do their own 1099s. We're still on track to get the 90 days or in 90 days to everything done, but we've built a system where we can't fail at that anymore.
So I love that for you guys, that you recognize that and built that. When you were just talking, I'm just sitting here in my head why would somebody file their own taxes? I'm talking to any realtor who's out there. Are you dumb? Here's the deal. There's no way.
Not me.
There's no
Listen.
way. Go succeed and win at what you do. I'm just sorry. I want the best professional in the world to. I don't want to be in charge of that shit. When I see realtors who are using QuickBooks and they're sending shit, I don't have to do any of that. What? First of all, it's a time drain.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Doing their own books.
Yeah, that's hello. Those people don't understand how to delegate their time. Those people are going to fail at becoming a
They're self-employed.
entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right, but they're not in a CEO mindset.
Well, they're not a business owner. They're self-employed. It's different.
Right. And I wish
That's the Kiyosaki model, right? It's you have to leverage to be a business owner. You have to
Right.
leverage humans. You have to get somebody else to do something so that you can be freed up to do all the things that you're excellent at. That's different.
Yeah, but I was just listening to you say that, and I was like, I just don't know why people would do it themselves.
Well, they don't see the value for them is the money, right? They're like, I just don't want to pay the money up front. That's a lot to me. So
whatever.
we
You're
don't
going to pay the money.
We're not even that
literally have
expensive.
a financial, like, you're going to pay the money so that your money is protected, so that all your hard work, it doesn't. It just, to me, it's just the most craziest thing, like, ever.
Dude, you'll love this. Yesterday at the event, this lady came up to me and she's like, "Oh yeah, I think I'm paying too much to get like my taxes done and stuff like that." I was like, "Oh, interesting. Like, do you mind sharing with me how much you're paying?" She said $600.
Wait, for what, a month?
And I said, "For what?" She's like, "For my taxes." I was like, "What taxes?" She's like, "Yeah, like my annual taxes." I said 600.
Did she get a refund?
No, I said, "Man, I mean no disrespect, but I'd be very concerned about the legitimacy of those tax returns. Who fucking spends $600? That's the lowest I've ever heard." She's like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, I spend like $6,000."
Well, we had a client who,
and I know this shit.
We had a client who, their friend from college, he was filing his taxes,
dude.
and he was like, "Oh yeah, he's only $500 a year. He's my friend from college, blah blah blah." But we found out the guy was missing out like a millions,
Tons.
millions of dollars.
So, no, I did the math.
He was a sole proprietor and being in business for like 20 years, making over
$200 to $400 grand a year.
Yeah.
For 20 years as a sole proprietor, paying all that self-employment tax. I did a little math on very basic what we do. Conservatively, his cheap CPA cost him $1 million. And this is a man who was coming to us in his 50s with no savings and no retirement, no real estate, and he's been an agent making $200,000 to $400,000 a year. And I conservatively estimate that he overspent $1 million in taxes.
Yeah, because his friend,
That's fucking
personal
insane.
friend. It was giving him the homie hookup.
An agent that you met,
Congrats.
remain nameless at the Florida party the other night. She had come to me and she was like, "I'm spending like $5,000," and I'm like, "A year?" And she's like, "No," and I'm like, "A quarter?" And she's like, "Oh, like almost like a month." And I'm like, "Whoa,
For what?
And like, I literally like stopped and I was like, "Absolutely not! Like, you're literally being overcharged." And like,
For what?
For all of her business, for her real estate business, for her coaching business, but like it's not right. Like, even if she was with Anderson Advisors, she wouldn't be like, I'm telling you, like. So I was like, and she's been using this guy, and she's like, "But my relationship," I'm like, "Nope."
There it is.
Hey, you might have somebody you could introduce her to.
I might already have. You just don't know it.
Ooh, hey now. Hey.
But I will say, I wish more realtors understood the importance of creating S corps when they have their LLC and stuff. Like, because I've been able to raise my W-2 salary every single year. I don't decide it. I just ask my accountant, I'm like, he's like, "No, this is what you're doing." But like, especially for that borrowing power, for anything that you need to show, it makes your life easier.
It does. Yeah. We one of the classes we teach is called 100 Deductions for Real Estate Agents. And the other class is 3 Radical Ways to Reduce Your Taxes. But both of them focus on the importance of getting your LLC, right? And the difference between sole proprietorship, when to switch from an LLC sole proprietor to LLC S Corp. And we usually say that number is around $60,000 to $70,000 of net income. And
taxable income.
Yeah, taxable income. That's when you make the switch. But we run into agents all the time who are sole proprietors. They go to cheap CPAs or they just don't understand it.
And go to H&R fucking Block.
Yeah, or H&R Block. And then, but one of my favorites the other day, I talked to this lady and she's like, "I feel like I'm paying too much, not in taxes, but to my tax person." She's like, I'm like, "What are you paying?" She's like, "I'm around like $5,000 a year." And I'm like, "Okay, just want to clear the air real quick." That's not bad. So I question, why are you coming to me? Like, what's the question? Then she got into like, well, they're not communicating. I feel like, I'm paying too much in taxes.
Then you get into the real issue.
Then you get into the real issue. She was like, I went back and I went through all the value, answered all of her questions. And then at the end, I'm like, "Okay, so remember that one time you said that CPA was really expensive?" I was like, "We're probably around the same price." And then she goes, "But you'd come with all the other stuff." And I was like, "Exactly. So we're not going to be, if you look at how much value we're bringing to you, all right, and the fact that you can reach us, and we're going to give you profit and loss statements every month,
like every month.
Every month, this is what you're paying for, and then the price was never the issue, never was. It was just the fact that she wasn't getting what she wanted for that price.
Yeah.
So
it's a great story. I mean, my CPA, after my brother died, he gave me a couple months, and he said, "Listen, I want to have a conversation with you. We haven't had our monthly P&L reviews." He's like, "I've let you have a couple months." He's like, "But you're not being a good financial steward right now." Because he's like, all my accounts, like he sees everything.
Yeah.
And he's
It
like,
is the truth serum, man. I love it.
He
I
said
love
to me,
it.
he's like, "You're spending like it's 2022, which was a monster year for me. It was just a fucking monster year. Made a lot of money, big tax bracket, but yeah, yeah." And he was just like, he's like, "You have 2 choices." He's like, "You can go back to producing more again." He's like, and you tell me what you want." He's like, "Because you told me on the phone the other day, like, you're tired. You don't want to do that." He's like, "You can rein some shit in." He's like, "And that's what I recommend." He's like, "You're fine." He's like, "You could live your whole life." But he's like, "Your goals for like being able to put away 75 to 100K a year for buying one house every year. He's like, you're off on that goal. He's like, so he's like, you don't have to change your lifestyle. He's like, if you don't want to, he's like, but you're not going to hit that goal. So like, I love that he just calls me and called me out on it. And like, I was fucking shook.
Yeah.
Like I was upset for like a day. I was mad at myself. I was like,
Oh,
fuck.
yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was
got
upset.
it.
But he was holding you accountable to what you
Yes.
wanted to do.
But dude, that's so great, dude.
So
Yeah.
that's
Good
the
leaders.
relationship you need. This
Yes.
like the money people. Like this is a big deal. I've told him, I was like, my dream would be that I would grow wealthy enough that I could retire you and you would just become my director of financial.
Yeah, just run my house.
Yes.
Yeah. And like, so yeah, for me, like you guys, it's been such a pleasure like meeting you guys. I'm so happy you're here. I'm happy that you're showing up at events and meeting people. It is obvious. Like I can't wait to put you in front of every agent that I know. I think the value is there.
Thank you.
The education is there. The personality. Like you guys are just people I hope, I'm lifelong friends with.
We will be lifelong friends now. Especially after our
memories.
core. I was going to say it, damn it. See, we're already inside each other's head. I love that. I was going to say, yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun having you on here. I mean, Nathan, is there any other questions you have that you want to?
No, I think the last thing I would like to know is like if you could speak to young entrepreneurs or agents, like think about yourself. Like what would you want to say to yourself 10 years ago?
If you do it consistently, if you do it every fucking day, it's so hard. But if you literally do it every day consistently, it will pay off. It just takes time. But every day you don't take action, you lose 10% momentum. When you lose momentum, it's so much harder to pick back up. That's why I didn't take weekends off. That's why I didn't take breaks. That's why I didn't take vacations. Because when you're hustling and grinding, now is the time. Sacrifice everything you can. Live well beneath your means. That I didn't do enough of because I made a little money and then I flashed it. Dumbass. Like I should have lived way lower, like below my means, and I would have been a year ahead of myself now. Like, so that my advice is like, you cannot quit. You cannot give up. It is going to be hard. You will cry. You will bleed. You will sweat. You will doubt yourself. You will hate yourself. Then you'll celebrate yourself for 2 seconds and go right back to fucking hating yourself. You have to commit. And on the days that it gets hard, you have to recommit. Write it down, look at it every day, and just never give up.
Fuck
God damn. Where's the
Hell
applause
yeah.
on that one? Come on,
Hey,
mastermind.
all right.
There we go.
Nope, the wrong one.
We'll get the hang of this. Well, Beth, thank you so much for coming on and telling us a little more about
The other side.
Yo, that's fire. You guys are so dope.